Hey guys, next up we'll be learning how to turn a valve and shut some fire off in Kismet. We'll be using a kill volume for that over by the fire. I've already set up my red builder brush here. You guys can do the same. Just make sure it encompasses this kind of grid area in the level here. And you can see it in the viewports. I've kind of just encapsulated it where this blue brush is, the additive brush. So you guys can go ahead and measure that up, and then first off, to add a volume, what we'll do is with our red builder brush selected, we'll go over to the volumes tab and right click on here, and then we'll add a dynamic physics volume. You really want a dynamic volume in here. I guess a dynamic trigger volume could potentially do the same, but for now we'll be using a dynamic physics volume. So if you just left click on there, it'll have added it. So if we just move the red builder brush out the way, then we can see this blue volume appear. If we press F4 for the properties now, we have the dynamic physics volume tab here, and if you've not got all of these tabs open, that's what it should look like. If you just go into the physics volume tab here, we need to change a couple of settings to make sure we know exactly what it's doing. So first off, the pain causing tab, we need to tick that. This will just show that you know, it's causing pain, exactly what it says. Pain interval, you could have it at 1. You can change that. You could have it at 0.2 seconds if you don't want it instant damage, but I'll just leave it at 1 for now. Another thing we do need to change is the damage per second on the actual physics volume. So if we just hit this damage per second to 200, that'll kill us straight away. So we got our volume here. Next we need to make this valve over to the wall kind of turn this volume off. For a visual effect, I mean, we know the volume's there, but when the player's playing they won't know that's there. So I've actually put some smoke and fire emitters in there, so the player kind of sees that there's a bit of danger there. If they try walking into it, then they'll die. Obviously, if you don't want to make it too difficult, you could change that pain interval down to maybe 0.1 or 0.2, and it'd just hurt them a bit. But then that kind of ruin the effect because it could just run straight through it, just losing a bit of health. So I want to punish them a little bit more than that, so I'll leave it there. So working with the valve, first off, if we select the valve in the editor, if we can see in all our viewports with everything else in the way, it's this kind of turquoise mesh here. We'll call it green for now, but this represents static mesh in the level, you already know that. But static meshes can't move, so what we have to do is we have to convert it to a mover. So you simply do this by right clicking on the actual object itself, going to convert, and convert to mover. You don't need to worry about any of the other settings for now. We'll just go ahead and hit mover, and now it turns to a purple object, and this means that it's an interp actor which can move within UDK. The general settings for a mover, if you convert it like that, is that it has no collision. So if we hit F4 again and bring up our interp actor properties, you see now it doesn't say static mesh properties, it says interp actor, so we know it's a mover by that as well. If you go to collision here, it automatically changes to collide no collision, which means you can run straight through these objects. So if you ever add a door to your level and change it to a mover, people can still run through that door. So to change the collision, you can go to block all, and then it'll block it. For this purpose here, we don't actually need any collision for the valve, so I'll leave it at no collision. I guess presumably it must save on performance if it doesn't have to, you know, calculate all that kind of stuff, but I generally won't change that for small objects such as these. So we've got that set up. Now, two ways we can make the wheel rotate. We can either do it through Matinee, which is in Kismet up there, and it's quite a powerful tool. But you can also just simply make the valve rotate. The reason why I'm not doing it in Matinee is for some reason I have problems rotating things, and on the movement tracks, if any of you guys have ever experienced like it rotating out on a weird axis, you know what, I'll show you now just so you guys get a good idea of what Matinee is about. So I click on Kismet, and the window kind of loads up in the other thing. We've got our light set up here. It'd be nice to start tidying things up a bit now. So if we just hold down Control and Alt and left mouse drag, that's our selection. You guys should already know that. And then we right click and create new sequence, and that'll group things together nicely. So we'll type in light mechanic here and just hit OK, and then it kind of condenses it down to that. So if we double click it, everything's still there, and if we navigate back, then it keeps things nice and simple. So with our valve selected, we will right click in here and go to new matinee, and this brings up the matinee box. Doesn't have too much functionality now. What we have to do is double click on the matinee anywhere you want, and it loads up this box. To kind of make things a bit easier for you to see, I'll just rearrange. I'll close this Kismet window down just for now so we can kind of see exactly what's going on, and I'll get rid of these properties here just so it gives us a bit more room. So we have the valve selected, and we can right click in this dark grey area to the left of the screen, not the top bit, the bottom bit, and right click, add new empty group, and I'll call this group valve, and then hit OK. So if we click off this, we can see this box is green. If we click on that, it selects our actor in the level. If it doesn't do that, go back and check that you've actually had it selected when you create the group. And if we open up Kismet again, you'll see our interp actor here on the matinee created. So if there's nothing there, it means you didn't have your valve selected, so make sure you do that again. So with this group, we can right click and go to add new movement track, and then if say we added a key point. Oh, by the way, yeah, this is a time slider. You can click anywhere here, and the black bar will follow the time slider. This is the amount of time in the bottom right hand box of the screen, and we can kind of delegate what kind of time frame we want for our matinee track. Things to have in mind is you want to toggle. Generally, I'll have toggle snap turned on all the time, and this kind of just snaps to time frames of either 0.5, 0.1, any of those. So if you want something really well measured out, I mean 0.5 is a good value, and then if we're dragging along here, you'll see it only snapping to these second time frames. Not too much needed here for now, but that's how you go about doing that. So I'll just drag this time slider down to the end. With this movement track selected, I'll hit enter, and that adds a new key here. Alternatively, you can press this button here, add new key. So with this selected, this is our second keyframe. If any of you guys know, keyframing in Maya, similar kind of principle. So with this keyframe selected, if ever it goes off, no data will be recorded. So make sure you have that selected, and then down here it'll say keyframe movement, and again down here it'll say key movement. So we can still move around this editor window with that keyframe selected. I'll hit spacebar to change our rotation, and if I change it, say 157 degrees, and then just click off it somewhere. So it's like if we didn't have this, if we started this clicked and we started moving around there, it'd change all this keyframe information. So whenever you do anything, make sure you click off that keyframe. And now if we bring our time slider back to the beginning and then hit play up here, you'll see the weird rotating. I mean, sometimes it's okay if you're not rotating past 90 degrees, but then anything past 90 degrees seems to flip out on a different axis. So if anyone knows how to solve that, please comment on the video. I've always had trouble with that, and I've never kind of figured out why. I know they did bring out new X, Y, and Z rotation coordinates, but I've never got those to work either. So we won't do it by that method. That's just a quick way of how you would do something in matinee if you want something not rotating, like maybe moving. So we'll just delete this matinee for now, holding down Control, selecting all those, and hit delete. So we're not getting any data in here now. So a simpler way to do this, for me anyway, would be to select the valve, hit F4 for the properties, and then we will go to the movement tab. And what we can do here is under rotation, there's a little tab there you can drop down, and it shows us like how we're rotating. So if we go to rotation rate, we can change how quickly this object rotates. So if we just change the pitch to 200 and hit enter, and I'll change this fizz interpolating to rotating, and then if I jump in the game here, I'll just right click on the floor, play from here, and there we go, it's rotating. It does kind of jump on that last keyframe of rotation, but it does the job. But we don't want this automatically rotating. It'd be good for, you know, vents and stuff in your level if you just want them rotating the entire level, but as it stands now, that's not going to help us. So if we escape out of there, so we know it's rotating, we know it works. If you guys have your valve in another axis, you might want to change these two values. We're in this axis at the moment, or Y, so we're doing the pitch at 200. So fizz will just hit to none now, and that means when we jump in the game it won't be rotating. But now we need a way to change that fizz to rotating and then back again. So we'll click off our axis there, go back into Kismet. With this axis selected, we can right click, new action, and then if you scroll to physics, set physics, now we can set our physics to rotating. So target, with this valve selected, right click on the purple tab, and new object via using interp actor, and whichever number it will be in your scene. So set physics, we can click on there, and down in the properties box in the right hand side we can set this to rotating. But now we need a way to trigger this action. I'm still having problems running around in my game with the Cam Studio. I'm not sure what the solution is. So for now I'll add a trigger, but I'll have it as a touch trigger. But you guys ideally would want a use trigger, but the method is the same here. So we right click on the floor and go to add actor, add trigger. And now, I mean, this trigger is a little bit big for my liking, so I'll just change the draw scale down here to maybe 0.5. Makes it a bit easier to move around the level. So I'll just move this into place here, and looking pretty good there. And the collision is okay there. You can maybe set the collision height and radius. If you hit F4 for the properties, go into trigger, trigger height and radius, you could change that to maybe 120 or something like that, but I'm happy with 40 for now. So with this trigger selected, we can open up our Kismet again, and now we need to set up this network to talk to the trigger to set the physics. So with the trigger selected, we can right click, new event using trigger 0 or trigger 1, 2, 3, whichever trigger you have selected, and I'm going to go for touch. Alternatively, you can go for used, and that would make you have to hit the E letter on the keyboard to trigger that. So touch for now, and then when we touch this trigger, we'll go to in, and then that sets the physics to rotating. What I'll do first of all, if I'll just move these properties up, I think everything is pretty much set up. Things you got to look out is the max trigger count. Generally, if you want something to be always triggered, you can set it to 0, and that means there's an unlimited time you can trigger the trigger. I'm going to keep it at 1 for now because I only want to turn the fire off once, and also because I can't run around in this level, what I'll do is I'll close down Kismet and hit F4, and then change these values to 200, and there we go. So hopefully as soon as I jump in the level, it'll start rotating. So right click, play from here, and it didn't work. Let's try once more. Still not happening. Let's see if I'm actually hitting this radius here. I mean, I should be inside that volume, but let's see. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I just wasn't inside the trigger radius. So as you can see, when I'm actually touching the trigger, obviously that was a good demonstration of when you're not touching the trigger and when you are touching the trigger, so we know that definitely works. We can jump outside here now. So again, if you want this trigger to have to walk up to it and you hit E, you can select the trigger, right click here, right click in your Kismet somewhere and go to used. And this has slightly different properties here. Used would go to your in, and then from this used you want aim to interact. I don't like this being on because that means you have to pinpoint the exact central radius of this. So if you have a really small trigger, that's fine, but generally I just like an interacted distance, maybe 128, 200, just so you know you're definitely hitting the trigger. There's no gameplay issues, and it just saves a lot of frustration in my mind. So I mean, that's generally good settings. And then you hook the used into the in, and then when you walk up to this trigger in the game, you just hit the E letter on your keyboard, and that'll start working there. So we'll delete this for now. I'll keep it as touch. The thing is, as soon as we touch it, that set's going, but then it carries on rotating. So we need to set the physics back to none again. So simply we'll select that, Control and C to copy, Control and V to paste, and then that pastes the new thing there. We're still talking to the same interp-actor. We'll just move that around holding Control, and then hook the out to the in, just left mouse dragging, and then setting the physics to none again. So the first box here is new physics, physics rotating. Second box, physics none. Now obviously this is going to touch, start rotating, stop rotating, probably before we even get a grasp of what's going on. So we can set a delay of how long we want it to rotate. So with this out tab selected on your first one, just hover over it and right mouse click and go to set active delay. And we can hit a delay of 1 second or 2 seconds. I'll leave it at the default 1 for now. Alternatively, we can hover over here and hold down D on the keyboard and click, and this adds a delay in, and the finish is already hooked up to the end because we were hovering on the input and we held D, so it automatically connects it up to you. If I just held D and left click in Kismet somewhere, then it would just add a delay in there. But for now, we've got that delay in there. You can change the properties down here, duration, maybe have it at 5. I mean, active delay works in the same way. The only way this gives you a lot more functionality. You can stop and pause, and you know, on the duration it gives you a float value, and you could have a random float value between like 3 and 5 seconds. So it just adds a lot more functionality. For now, I'm just going to delete that out, connect these back up, left mouse dragging, and so we touch the trigger, it starts rotating, this interp-actor. If we right click, select interp-actor, we know we're speaking to this valve here. We wait 1 second, and then it stops rotating. So we can test that out now quickly. I'll make sure I'm jumping inside the trigger radius again, hopefully, and nothing. So what I think would most likely be the solution for this is, I think we're just jumping in the game too quickly and we're touching the trigger and it's already rotated and stopped again before we even got a chance to see it. So right click on here, set active delay, and set this to 5. Just let's see what happens here. And then we'll move this trigger out a bit more, so we're definitely in the radius. Obviously you guys shouldn't be having this problem, it's just because I can't actually run around in my game to test out. So play from here, and then we're in the level, still not working. So we'll just jump in the level now and test this out, and we'll play. We see it rotating there, and then hopefully it should stop after 4 seconds. There we go, it stopped. Right, so we can move this trigger back into place now. I'll just close my Kismet window to make sure it measures up. Again, if you want a used trigger, then that's how you'll set that up. I'll change the radius back down to probably 80. I'll set it for 80. So I hit F4 then to get the trigger properties, and then just into the trigger tab, collision height, collision radius. We can switch that, and that should be good for now. So it starts and stops. The only problem is that we have the valve rotating, but we don't know if this fires on or not. So at the moment, the emitters under the floor, you can see them, one here and one there. And if we go under the floor, we should be able to see them. Yep, that's what a particle emitter looks like. And at the moment, they're not causing any damage. So if we hit F4 for the properties, they're auto active. This means that sorry, you can find this in the emitter tab, particle systems, particle system component, and auto active means that they're turned on at the start, but then now we need to switch them off when we trigger the valve. So we will close down the properties, go into the Kismet window, hold down the letter T on your keyboard left mouse click, and it should bring up a toggle trigger. Again, I'm recording, so it's disabled my keyboard inputs. So hold down T and left mouse click for you guys. For me, I'll go to new action, toggle, and just a normal toggle at the top there. So when we've rotated, we can left mouse drag in to here, turn off, and with these two particle emitters selected, we'll go down to the target, right click, and add these objects here. So when our valve is finished rotating, it turns off the smoke. We can also add in our physics volume here, which is there, and we can just add this to the target as well. So we have the two emitters and the actual volume that's hurting us all turned off, and then the valve stops working, and then we should be free to run through. So you guys test that out. I'll just test it out when I've stopped the video and make sure all of that works, and we should be good to move on to the next thing.